Cottage Inn Gourmet Pizza has been a central figure of the Ann Arbor, Michigan area since 1948. The restaurant has built a menu filled with delicious pizza and other family specialties that have been a part of the restaurant's offerings for years. Eleni Mikos immigrated to the United States with her husband Nick, and the rest is history.
He came to this country with some ideas that he had in his mind, not to leave his country, but he wanted to come and get some ideas how to improve things in his small village. He bought the cottage inn, then he started in the business, and I guess the first few days he was making $30–50 a day. So at that point, it was before Christmas, so he decided, because he was very handy with his mind and with his hands, so he decided that, this is not working. I really think I like to remodel the place. So with the knowledge that he had from his village as far as remodeling, he took the place apart. He closed for 10 days during Christmas. So they opened. They had 2 waitresses and themselves. So when the door opened, it started being a line. People were waiting in line to get in. They didn't know what to do. They didn't know what to serve. They didn't know where to get the food, but they managed. And after that, they were always successful. In 1963, he decided to go back. He was not ready. He did not make all that money yet. So he decided to go back and visit his family. He had missed his parents. So he did. Accidentally, we met. I never knew him. And the first time I looked at Nick, and I just fell in love with him. I just looked at that man, and I really appreciated, and I could feel the honesty and the kindness in his face. We went on a honeymoon. Nick left after 21 days. I came a month later, and I came to this country married, pregnant, and I could only say, I don't speak English. I married my husband because I fell in love with him, and I know he fell in love with me. How little did I know that my husband had a love before me, and that was the cottage inn. He created the love of people, the warmth, and the hospitality.
These warm memories and hopes for the future of Cottage Inn Pizza are captured throughout the lives of Eleni Mikos' 3 sons. Theo, now the Chief Financial Officer, Jimmy, now the President of the restaurant group, and George, now the Chief Executive Officer, have followed in their father's footsteps to continue Cottage Inn Pizza's success.
Growing up as a young kid, I lived most of my summer months in Greece. So I was there for 3 months out of every year, every other year. That's where I met some of my friends that I still have to this day. But more importantly, I spent a lot of time with my grandma and grandpa, who taught me how they lived back in Greece. Back then we had no electricity, they had no water. We had to go out to the fields by donkey, which was 3, 4, 5 miles away, which took half a day. We would spend the whole day trimming trees, olive trees, the same olive trees that we bring back to this day. The oil is coming from those same trees. We spent a lot of time in the restaurant, and growing up is where I eventually started working in the restaurant. I don't even know the dates. I was probably 7 years old going around bussing tables for my dad. Then I was 10 years old, and then 14 years old, and then the restaurant expanded in the early 70s. The main little restaurant expanded into twice as big, to 3,600 square feet, and then expanded into bigger than that, and it was almost 4,000 square feet at one time, to where I was actually officially hired as a busboy. And I think I was probably 15 years old when I started working there. Kept doing that up until I was probably 19 years old. just getting into college, and I started working in the carryouts. The first carryout I worked in was Broadway. I happened to work there with one of our co-workers that still works with us to this day, Shafi Broman. That was actually our second delivery store. Our first delivery store was on Stadium. It was in a trailer. My father bought a piece of property that had a trailer on it, and so instead of building a restaurant on it, he just put the restaurant in the trailer. And that's how we started. We put an oven in there, make line, and kids from all over the place would park in the lot and walk up these stairs up to this trailer and pick up their pizza and sit out at a picnic table and eat the pizza. That was our first carryout store that we started. After that, we tore down the building and built what's now there, which is Stadium Cottage Inn. Our first franchise store was Shafi Broman's store out in Grove Road. And I worked with Shafi for about 5 years. We worked together at one of the stores in Washtenaw, and after that he got his own store, and we were probably 25 years old. I actually helped him build that store, and that was our first franchise store that started.
You know, I came to Cottage Inn like in 1990 and kind of took over the place for my dad, and a lot of my memories started then. And then I kind of like, it's carrying on the traditions. It was very important to me. I learned a lot, like always remodeling the place. My dad was always fixing up the place. That was really important to me, and like to this day, I just think about him.
Nick was the kind of a man that most of the world should be. He believed in hard work. He believed in family. He believed in friends. He believed of helping people.
Some other things that I shared with my dad and was a big part of the restaurant was feeding the homeless every year. I feel like that's really my Thanksgiving. That was very important to me. It just made you feel special. Now I got my kids involved, and everybody kind of, it's just that's the way I spend Thanksgiving.
Some of the fondest moments and proudest that I've been involved with Cottage Inn is when we give back to the community. We had one situation where we donated 500 pizzas to a wall foundation, which brought together 1,500, 2,000 Down syndrome kids and involved them with the athletes at the University of Michigan. And the smiles on their face when we brought out the pizza, and it raised the hair on my arms. It was one of the proudest moments I've had.
No matter where I go, I always find the Cottage Inn. It is that kind of a place that my husband always had in his dreams.
Nick's dreams for the future success of Cottage Inn Pizza are becoming a reality.
One of my focuses was not to expand into a corporate company, to always stay a family business. When people ask what separates Cottage Inn from the rest, or what do you see in the future, like what's your goal in the future? I kind of, with the competition, I do like to follow closely what they're doing, what they're looking at, what they have new going on. I do sometimes like to compare ourselves to them in terms of if they're doing something new, if I feel it's a good idea for us to do. If we're going to do it, we want to try to do it in a way that is a little different, or in an aspect a little better than what the competition is doing. We're always willing to look at products that maybe could be better, or try to improve ourselves. We're not afraid to improve ourselves, but at the same time, we make sure it's done in a quality way. In terms of how you make the product, we spend a lot of time training people. We have videos, we send people to stores, so we're constantly watching how all the stores do things to make sure we're all making the product the same, to keep that consistent. I see the future of Cottage Inn expanding, but I do see it expanding the right way. And if the right people come to us, we will continue to expand. Being in a family business, I think it's important to keep it a family business and allow yourself to grow, but still stay as a family business.
With over 50 stores throughout the United States, Cottage Inn Pizza has grown and will continue to grow. The business's family values provide a solid base for what is yet to come.
I'm very proud of our three sons, Theo, Theophany in Greek, Jimmy, Dimitri, and Yorgo, which is Georgian American, that they continue the tradition, to continue with all the beautiful people that they work with, to continue in being successful in every way. The Cottage Inn was home. It is home, and it's always going to be home.